you said this yourself earlier on that the world is complex, quantum mechanics, all that stuff, right? And our intuition is not always the best guide. This is why we have the Quran al-Kareem, and this is why Allah gives us guidance.
That's why Allah has clearly stated the halal and the haram in the Quran, and the things which are permitted and which are forbidden. Yes?
I understand. I'm trying to find common ground, given that you know I don't believe in such a literalist interpretation. In that I do see merit in the way you look at things. It's not like
most of the things which are haram in the Quran, I wouldn't be surprised if you agree with most of them.
No, I do.
See what I mean?
I keep saying I think
so the things which are forbidden is good for you as an individual, is good for your family, good for the community.
Agreed.
And this is something we all share across religions and even across, I would say, people who don't have religions.
And I have to give due respect to any tradition which has evolved that methodology and that moral code. So I definitely don't want to discount any religion, including Islam, because I respect.
Because there's a lot of things common in different religions.
Okay.
And like I said, you don't even need to be religious to identify with certain things. I would say with most of the things which are haram. Yes. Yeah. Like things like lying, stealing, murder. Fornication, maybe they might disagree with that, but adultery, gambling.
I don't agree as a generalization with murder. No, I don't.
No, murder, not killing. It's two different things.
Good point. I don't as a generalization agree with killing.
We agree there are things which are wars which are justified.
Yeah.
So we don't say, okay, all killing is wrong.
Good.
But murder is not the same, isn't it?
No, murder is...
It's a different...
Again, that's a
it's killing unjustly, that would become
right.
considered as murder.
You're right. However...
we digress again.
Why are we suddenly hitting that? I'll just pitch where I think I'm coming from, then you tell me how appalling you find the idea. I think...
Sorry, which part?
My interpretation of the psychological view of original sin and the apple. So I think the Christians have got it wrong, as you say. The traditional Christians have got it wrong because they're inferring that we can somehow be culpable for bad decisions made by Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Okay, now that idea makes no sense. Okay, I think hopefully anybody being objective can agree that the whole idea of you're born and you're on a path and you make choices means that they're your choices you're responsible for, not other people's. So the traditional Christians have misunderstood their own creed, I think.
So we don't believe
children misunderstood their own creed, but there's some problem with their creed.
It's definitely a problem with their creed. However, because I come from a Christian background and I actually think Christianity's got a lot of really good stuff going for it, right?
Oh yeah,
I feel that the Christian instinct has been good in recognizing that the moment of the fall is profoundly important, but they've misunderstood how, and they've carried it into this false idea that they've engineered to make sense that doesn't make any sense. But if you let go of that and you just go, but everyone seems to agree that the moment of the fall is important, you meditate on what does this signify, what happens, and what you notice is that Adam and Eve learn shame. They put on clothes for the first time, yes? They learn that they're going to suffer all the days of the earth. For the first time, they understand they're going to die. I think they conceptualize death in a way that that they didn't before, yeah? And I think a clear difference between animals and us is that we understand our own mortality and the horror of it. We understand shame. We understand the suffering of our condition, and it's traumatic. We are traumatized in a way that animals aren't, because they're not making informed choices.
So when slightly different.
Does that roughly?
Sorry, let's not.
There's a recording.
Let's distinguish between animate and inanimate. But with regard to animals, there's this range of things, and we don't really understand animals that well. So let's leave them out of it for a bit.
It just gets confusing. That's all.
It complicates the situation.
By the way, there's one important thing you forgot. What you just defined is a Christian narrative. The Islamic narrative again differs. So the first thing which we differ upon is the fact that Adam forgot. He didn't do it deliberately.
Okay.
The second thing which is not mentioned in the Christian narrative, and it is in the Quran, is that Allah forgives Adam. Sorry, before even he forgives, he teaches Adam how to seek forgiveness, how to seek repentance, and while he's still in paradise, he's forgiven already. So the original sin is nipped in the bud.
Okay.
As such.
Can I say, to me, that is more cogent than the traditional Christian position on that. I think your view makes more psychological sense.
And
I'm looking at it as evolutionary psychology.
Again, the informed decision comes in.
Okay.
Because Allah informed Adam how to seek forgiveness.
Okay.
Yes? Because, look, there's another hadith which is very important in Islam, which we say, كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمْ خَطَّاءٌ وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. Every human sins. And the best among them are those who repent. Now this, you see, in the case of Christianity, Adam wasn't forgiven. In fact, Adam was punished for that disobedience, for that sin.
Punished thrice.
Not only Adam, but Eve was punished.
If you take it literally, but I don't. I think it's metaphorical. That's my point.
So all three were punished. The Satan was punished,
Yeah.
Adam was punished, Eve was punished. The first mention in Genesis with regards to the punishment was with Eve. Starts with Eve.
Yeah.
Not even Satan. Can you
Yeah.
believe that? So what was Eve's?
Really?
Yes. What was Eve's punishment? That every daughter of Eve
Will be painful.
will have pain during childbirth.
Yeah.
You shall bring forth children in pain.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was the punishment.
The pain and
what was
suffering.
the second mention is of Satan, not Adam. What was the punishment of Satan? That it will crawl on his
Cast,
belly.
yeah.
And so on, eat
Yeah.
dust. Yes? And the third now is mention of Adam, that he will toil the earth with labor and
Sure.
with sweat and so on.
Yeah.
Okay? To this day, the Christian women are still having labor pains, even though they accept Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The original sin hasn't gone away.
Sure.
When I ask the Christians, they'll say, oh, it'll go away when the second coming happens. I
Okay.
mean, so what's the point of Jesus dying then on the cross?
But where
if he
it-
was supposed to take away the original sin. But anyway, we digress again. We're going to...
Well, we're not digressing. You're pointing out
The holes in the narrative,
how
yeah.
incoherent the traditional Christian narrative is if you take it literally, and I agree with you. But my position is that a lot of these narratives, if you take them less
Let's
literally
take
and
your
more
position.
metaphorical.
Take your position. That's good.
Okay, so my position would be, it's a metaphor. Okay, for evolutionary psychology, and it's the moment in human psychology when we gain empathy. The essence of morality, I think, is empathy. It's a common denominator. Every example of evil that you could ever think up, I think, is an example of a lack of empathy. If you can find me a
How does
contradiction,
that connect with the original sin?
because in original sin, what happens is, because I'm framing things in terms of subjects and objects, yeah?
Okay.
And evolutionary psychology.
So who's the subject here?
The subject is the baby, you, me, as we evolve.
Humans.
Humans, yeah.
Okay.
So as you
What is the object?
Well, exactly. The object is also the human. This is the
No,
paradox.
but you can't have the subject and the object as the same entity.
No, but we are. Sorry, you are.
can?
Okay. No, you are an object who is a subject, and this is exactly the point. I think
In this context...
I'll quickly mention the Sally
sure.
Ann experiment, and then I'll get where I am because it just preps this. There's an experiment in psychology called the Sally Ann experiment. I think it's called. At the age of about 3 or 4, there's an experiment they do. I won't go into
The
details.
trophies and stuff.
Do you know it? Where they move things around boxes. You know it?
Oh, no, go on.
Okay, they do a thing with a kid where it's complex to describe and I'll verbally screw it up, and because it's physical maybe I won't bother. But essentially it's a point at which the kid suddenly realizes that other human beings have got minds as well as their own. Up until that point they think they're the center of the universe and everything else is just an object, yes? Now at the age of about 4 they get a theory of mind where suddenly they go, oh hang on, they're thinking as well, outside of my control. And that's a platform for them what I think you get, which is empathy. There comes a point when you realize that other people aren't just objects. When you're born as a baby, you think everything is just an object and you're the only subject. You think you're God in a sense, yeah? In Freudian psychology and so on, I think they buy this. And it's traumatic to realize that you're an object like other objects with no more power and you're fallible. You're no more or less important than anyone else. So when they bite the apple, what you get is the horror of your condition of being an object with guilt that will get old and die and pain and all of this. So you get that horror, but at the same time you get the massive upgrade of realizing but those other objects are also subjects like me, and you connect with empathy. And you empathize and you realize other people have an inner world, and empathy becomes, now in your fitra, now incorporates a whole new dimension, which is the ability to commune with other people as subjects, which is the framework for the moral universe. Until you've got that understanding that the other things that look like objects are also subjects, you're totally ignorant.
In other words, you realize your humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's
and
what
your
you're saying
fitra
in
then
short.
comes online, because then you
You
can make
realize
choices.
that you're a moral agent in some
Yes, you
sense.
realize you're a moral agent.
Yeah.
So I think it just represents
Even though
that.
I would say when the child has a connection with the mother,
Yeah.
from even before it is conceived.
She does, but I don't think she conceptualizes the
So
mother as being
it realizes,
an equal entity
yeah,
to
so
herself.
the child realizes comfort, discomfort, things like that.
so-
From
Yeah, but
quite a
I
young...
think she just sees the mother, she doesn't understand the mother is another intelligence with feelings like herself. She just sees it as a source of nutrition, still from a self-centered
Not really.
framework.
No, I don't think. I think there's a lot of emotion going on between the child and the mother with regards to comfort, love, compassion, those things, you know. Like when they come across other beings, they want feel the same motherly love as it would from its own mother.
Okay,
so I would disagree with
okay.
with the complete.
Hang on, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Okay, I'll bounce back on that then. How
And the
about
same thing with the father, I think.
But
It does bond
I,
differently.
I want to hear Tony relate what he said just now to original sin, because I don't see the
Okay,
connection.
can I just
Yeah, I
bounce-
don't really. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I'd made the point, but
Go
I'm
ahead,
going to do the baby
Please.
first quickly.
In
What you
simple-
said about the mother was interesting.
There's a
simple.
special bond between a child and a mother, and also I think with the child and his own family. Because when you take it out of its family environment,
Yeah.
it feels different. It realizes it will always go back to the child. It will go back to the mother or its loved one.
Yeah, no, I think
yes.
I think you made a good point, and I'm mulling it over. So I'm going to come back with a counter position. I'm thinking on the hoof. It may be good, it may not.
Okay.
Okay. How about the child has an unconscious emotional relationship with the mother, which is instinctive? I'm talking about the moment of knowledge. It's called the tree of knowledge because that's when it becomes a conscious framing. And I think when you eat the apple, it's the first time that the human being frames himself as an object in a world of other objects as
So
well. It's when you realize the paradox of being a subject and an object at the same time. It's highly traumatic. And if in psychology, most people's initial trauma happens when, like, they take a physical damage. It's the horror of realizing,
Yeah, no,
shit,
I see this.
pardon me,
This-
but, yeah?
See, the Christian idea of this, or my understanding of the idea of original sin is that it is something to do with the state of the world and the state of human beings, right? And it is something that requires.
Sorry, for blocking the camera.
It is something A, to do with the state of the world and the state of human beings, and B, something that requires expiation, something that requires payment for, right? But what you're saying has no connotation of payment.
I know, I'm reframing it.
Right.
I'm reframing
Go,
it,
go, go.
but it ends up creating a moral landscape because it achieves the same end, but by a different means. Because once you get if you get this upgrade and go, damn, I'm a paradox. I'm a subject and an object. I'm as weak and fallible as anything else. But also now you're introduced to a world of other people you can consciously empathize with. Now you are in a moral arena, and now you can sin.
but Tony, I
that's the origin of. It's not original
I think
sin.
it-
It's the origin of sin.
It
Yeah,
does
that's-
fall.
yeah.
It
Does
does
that
fall
work for
short.
you?
I understand that is the origin of
No,
the
but-
concept of sin in the
Which
child's
means it's not
mind.
that you did anything
But,
bad.
well,
It's
the
just
origin
an
of the concept of
inevitable
morality.
part of your
One can
growth.
But your
understand what
theory-
you're saying.
your
That
theory-
Sorry,
this is where the child's concept of morality arises.
No, no. Before we come even to
What's
the
that-
child,
yeah.
we want to discuss with Adam and Eve because they were the only two people when this happened. So this theory of yours, empathizing with others and all, doesn't really apply because, like I said, they had already been instructed about certain things. They had been taught language. I don't know about the Christian, but at least in the Muslim view, they had been taught these things which even the angels didn't know. Yes. So we are talking about these special beings, human beings who were created, and they were not just left to fend for themselves to discover these things like empathy and all that. I think they were already taught that. So there was already an informed, the knowledge was already informed to them by God directly. So it doesn't sit well with the theory that you have because you're coming from a Christian narrative, and I don't blame you because you come from that background.
Well, actually, no. I'm actually backing up the Muslim critique of the Christian narrative. I'm
Yeah, but
saying
you're not
it's
aware of many
coherent.
things from the Muslim narrative,
Yeah.
from what it appears to be. So the most important thing, which I think there's another important thing which we did not mention, which I think you touched upon, is that it realized that it's able to die. Whereas
Exactly. That seems to be on, and it seems that a whole new load of emotions come online.
No,
like
but in the
guilt.
Islamic narrative, they were never created immortal.
Okay.
That's why I said there are things which you don't know about the Islamic model or the Islamic narrative.
Many
In
different.
the
Yeah,
Islam,
the-
sorry.
They were not created immortal.
Immortal.
Yeah, they were created with free will and with mortality.
It's the same in the Christian tradition.
No, it's not. In the Christian,
Why
they
not?
be,
In the Christian reading,
They're
when
born-
Adam,
they're born with-
sins, he is punished,
Yeah.
and one of his punishments is that you shall die.
Yeah.
But Islam
Okay.
has no such concept.
not only
Okay.
that, in fact, God says that if he eats of this, he'll
very,
become
very
like
big
us.
thing.
Again, I'm
If he eats of the knowledge, from the tree of the knowledge and forget the term, he'll become like us. God is saying.
Yeah.
He'll become like
Yeah,
us
he's
means
right.
not
He shall
only
be as
not
us.
only immortal but also all-knowing.
Again, I'm agreeing with your critique of that literal Christian. I don't take.
Yeah, I know
the
you don't take it
literalist
literally.
view.
I'm just telling you the difference between the two narratives.
Okay, but
The
I'm not
Islamic
trying to
narrative-
support. I'm not trying to support
No,
their
of course
narrative.
not.
I'm saying you're more on the ball point than they are. But what they're understanding, I think, because You know I'm looking at this psychologically, yes? So if you can bear with me to that degree, and I'm not trying to attack your faith, I'm just trying to find...
you're not.
Okay,
Don't
fine.
worry.
Okay, so-
Your openness is totally apparent, right? Don't worry.
Okay, cool. So I'm trying to get the connection with the crucifixion, because in Christianity the crucifixion is payback for, it's a way of dealing with the problem of original sin. Okay? Now,
Shall we discuss that later? Not now. I still want to see the connection between.
well, I want to defend the Christians for a minute. I don't normally come in waving a Christian
No,
flag,
it's
but
not
if I
about.
could at least
It's not
try
about
for a
that.
minute.
I said we can discuss it later.
Okay.
First, I want to know the connection between original sin and this other, what do you say, theory that you.
The person's moral
yeah,
sense.
or empathy that you
I'm
mentioned.
planting my flag. I say the essence of goodness and fitra is to see clearly and truthfully, and a profound part of that is to see with empathy. Because once you understand there's other human beings, a whole dimension of reality opens up to you. You've only been seeing the world of people from the outside in up until that point. But once you have empathy, you can see people from the inside out and genuinely connect with them, and that's profoundly moral.
Yeah, would you say empathy is something which is subjective?
Now we're on to the whole topic of, okay, we're on to the whole
I
topic
see
of
where
the
you're
problem.
coming from.
Okay, well, now
Because
we're
it's quite important, when you
That's
talk about
very
these things, and if that is the central basis on you're going to build your
I don't-
argument on, then
I-
we need to know
okay,
these things.
I don't think it's subjective in the sense you mean, because I think the word subjective has become distorted. You can use the word subjective to mean that it's all just whatever you feel like, and I think you mean it like that. Or you can use the word subjective to mean phenomenological, as in inevitably I have to perceive things phenomenologically. So it's subjective in that sense, in that it has to be phenomenological to me. However, because I'm buying the idea of a fitra, no, it's not just what I want, because I do have a moral compass. Okay?
You do,
So
but,
it's not just
this
subjective.
moral compass, that's what I'm saying, differs for everyone. What might be moral for you might not be moral for someone else. It might be immoral for them.
Oh, then hang on, then maybe I'm more conservative than you are. I assume that we're all sharing a common moral compass.
No, you see,
In the divine
there are
faith.
certain things, look, like, fitra is quite complicated in the sense that it's not specific, but you have this something which is intrinsic in you.
Yeah.
To, let's say, before you are told.
No, I think the problem here is
Yeah.
the making of the moral compass synonymous with the concept of fitra.
Exactly, yes.
They're not
And sin as well.
Damn, I thought I was gaining ground with
And
that.
sin
Are
is
you going to
well.
cut me loose?
No, but the thing is, that's why I said.
You can see an overlap, no?
That's why I said terms and definitions are very important.
They're
Otherwise,
totally related.
we talk cross
But they're-
purposes. Otherwise, no?
Okay.
So we need to define the terminology that we are talking about.
If I go to the gym, my fitra is to lift the best I can, okay? If I lift less than my best, I'm falling short of my fitra, and if I overdo it, I'm going to hurt myself, and that's silly as well. So there's a sweet spot.
No,
That's my best potential.
I tell you where the problem is. I have an understanding of my fitra. See,
You have what?
my fitra.
Okay.
I have an understanding, and I aim to achieve the most optimal consonance in my act and life with my fitra.
Yeah.
Okay? But that is based, this attempt at consonance is based on the level of my understanding of my fitra.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
You could, but this is why
Right.
honesty
That's
is a
the
virtue.
difficult.
Right, but this is why honesty
This
is
is
a moral virtue, because you have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
What we learn from, certainly from Christianity, and I'm assuming from Islam and other religions, is look to the mote in your own eye. Our mind is constantly trying to deceive us away from seeing ourselves honestly in alignment with our fitra. Enlightened behaviour, moral behaviour, is about trying to see as truthfully as possible. Doing that requires honesty, and these are the moral virtues which are taught by religions, including Islam,
Right.
to keep aligned with your fitra, yes? So where's the contradiction?
But
No,
would
there's
you
no contradiction.
would you consider honesty is the best policy all the time?
Oh, you've chucked in all the time. No, I don't consider that, because because in terms of morality, I'm a deontologist, not a consequentialist. So it depends what your motive is. Yeah.
As long as we got
would
that
we
clear.
agree, would we
Yes,
agree on
yes.
that?
As long as we got it clear.
Okay.
Because there are certain times when you're honest, you can get people in trouble. For
Absolutely.
example, if the Nazis were searching your home
Yeah.
and you had a few people hidden in your basement, and you're honest when they ask you, have you got anyone else in your
Now
home?
you're on Kant.
You know what I mean?
You're on Kant's categorical imperative.
Yeah, so we have to sometimes look things in perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason. This is where, like I said, in Islam, we have this, this notion about honesty, about being truthful. When it comes to saying God is one, do you reject God and your life is in danger, Islam allows you the freedom to lie at that time and say, no, I don't. Yes, but inside in your heart, you're still believing in God. So it does give you that option. That's why I'm saying Islam has given you a moral compass in a written form, which you cannot say if but gray areas. It's like a constitution. You follow a written constitution, in a way.
I know, because
See what I mean?
I know you take.
And that's the reason we shouldn't use the term fitra. I think the term instructions maybe more, and going away from what you have been instructed, maybe more beneficial in this dialogue, because fitra can get clouded in the sense when we talk about it, and your definition, my definition might differ.
Oh no, they definitely differ, but I'm hoping we can see they have an overlap.
So let's say if we say something like, if you move away from the covenant, or if you move away from the constitution or the instructions, which let's say we have a common written instructions, and if we sway away from that or move away from that, then it might be problematic. Something like that.
But yeah, I, as I'm sure you know, I don't believe that.
Or just call it moral compass. Maybe that's better, I would say.
You're okay? Well, I was calling it moral compass.
Yeah, that's
We're okay with moral compass?
So the concept of original sin that you're talking about is that we learn as a child, as you said, or we become aware as a child of this
that we're not the center of the universe.
Of our condition. And this is what you're referring to. This is what you refer to as this condition is for you what original sin is.
I think you've lost sound. Just if
Have
you
you
know,
lost sound?
because I think what you're saying is important, but he's got the mic on him.
I don't think what I'm saying is that important. But
Well, no, I think we're having a good chat. And from your viewers' point of view, hearing what. Sorry, do you want to repeat what you were saying?
So I was just trying to understand what Tony was saying, so that I'm really clear.
I'm trying to come up with core moral axioms.
Yeah. So let me just paraphrase it. That'll help me.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that the child, when he becomes aware, it is this condition of awareness. No, it is the.
I call it sentience.
It is the condition of which he becomes aware.
Yes.
Is the condition. It is not his awareness, but the condition of which he becomes aware. That is, in your concept, original sin.
Yeah, he
Is that
becomes
right?
aware of the full horror of his condition.
That is what you mean by horror.
But with it comes the fantastic augmentation of realizing that the world is full of qualia, consciousness, the divine thing is everywhere. So
But
you're
wouldn't
now
that
operating
differ
in a
for
more.
a child?
It's very different.
A 4-year-old wouldn't care about shame. You will.
That's what I mean. That's what happens if you take it to be evolutionary psychology, in the Adam and Eve stage, which the child is at, it doesn't know its own nakedness, it doesn't understand it's going to die. It's got it as a vague cognitive concept, but the reality hasn't hit home. The trauma hits when you really take a hit, maybe you get physically injured, or a battlefield, or you realize a powerlessness, you have a traumatic relationship, something which instills in you the sense of, I'm a small, vulnerable, finite thing like all the other small, vulnerable, finite things, and that's your primary trauma. And this is where, I'll just pick up Christianity for a minute, if you don't mind. To me, the crucifixion, if the Christians read it correctly, would be going, right, so we're remembering the horrible trauma you had when you ate the apple, about the horror of your condition, and what Christ is doing on the cross is going, I know you're traumatized, but I can take that horror. Okay, I can take the worst there is. I can demonstrate.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense to me that somebody goes.
If the original sin and is
forget sin now and think of it in different terms.
But they're connected, aren't they? You can't have. The whole idea of crucifixion was to take away the.
Yeah, but that's clearly not correct.
The whole concept.
That's, I'm turning the whole concept around, and I'm going. What he's demonstrating is with original sin, what the human beings discover is human nature is a very dark place, and it is. Okay, it's traumatic. And what you see in the crucifixion is somebody going, I accept that it's dark and traumatic. Despite that, I'm going to take the worst there is and still push through and show you that human nature is capable of handling the trauma because I'm choosing to embrace the trauma, and my nature and yours are the same. Therefore, I can give you hope. I'm helping you to cast off the fear that is in your nature.
I think
that works.
I don't
think.
I don't see it. Okay, I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Let me say what the problem is. Okay, what is the crucifixion? The crucifixion is a man
Yeah.
innocent man dying in a horrible way.
Yeah.
All right?
No, it's a man choosing it.
Yeah, and
That's important.
innocent man choosing to die in a horrible way.
No, I don't think he was even choosing.
No,
Well,
in
let's accept
Christianity
it.
it's very
It
important
just
it's
doesn't
chosen.
work.
He knows it's going to happen. He doesn't want it to happen. And it's almost deliberately the cruelest and nastiest thing. All your friends
In
leave
fact, he
you.
prays to
And-
God to take it away from him.
and-
So
and-
it's not.
He questions whether he has to do it. Then he does it.
No, it's not a question whether he has to do it. He's saying, take this cup away from me.
Yeah, but I think in Gethsemane, when he prays on that, within that is a rumination of, is it necessary, yeah? And then he realizes he has to, and then he does it because he thinks it's his fitra, effectively.
He had no choice. He was dragged.
Yeah, he was dragged
Yeah.
there. But I don't.
He was-
Yeah,
Anyway,
okay,
yeah,
let's
let's-
argue
let's-
about this.
yeah.
Whether I don't think it's
That's a
choice, but
different matter.
let's say that he has choice.
I'm reframing the thing. that's
Okay,
all.
so look what you're building. You're
Yeah.
building a concept of human being
Yeah.
as being a traumatic animal, a traumatic being,
Yes.
a being which is full of trauma,
Yeah.
and the trauma requires expiation in this manner, right?
Payment.
Yeah, well,
I'm not
Oh,
under the impression he's
resolution.
unique. I don't think he has supernatural power. I don't
No,
think
no,
he's
no.
any higher than
no, yeah,
Muhammad.
never mind.
Sorry,
mind.
who's this?
No.
Jesus. I think he's just a guy.
We are not
He's a
relating
human
this to
being.
Yeah,
Muhammad
a guy with
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or we're
special-
not relating to
certain
Islam.
special-
Okay.
This concept you're saying, let's talk about independently as the concept,
Okay.
nothing to do with Islam. Okay.
Okay.
Because that why?
Sure,
don't-
thank you.
So does it work on its own merits?
Yeah.
That's
That's what I wanted to question.
Yes,
Because
thank
the reason I said earlier, because Mauricio was saying crucifixion are pretty much, and you also alluded to that, they're connected. I mean, what about the people before that, Were they not traumatized by this knowledge of having to die and having to...
No, but then the question is, are we like that? Is this a theory of man? Is this theory valid?
They always were. It's about the evolution from the infant to the adult. It's a description
it's
of
not
every
entirely
human being
traumatic.
effectively travels the journey from the Garden of Eden.
Look,
In their psychology, they have the state of innocence, and then they hit a moment, the Sally Ann moment, when they get a theory of mind,
This is-
then the horror hits them,
this is not.
and then they have
this
to
is
adjust
just
to how to live with the horror.
not right. What
Really?
is not? This is not right. What is not right is this.
Go on.
Human beings do have traumas.
Yeah.
Human beings do find that the world has issues, but human beings also have all sorts of positive things
Yeah.
and discover unbelievable beauty and love in the world. Okay?
Through empathy, which
Through
is
the-
what comes
through-
on board
no,
at the
this is
same
part-
time.
Yeah. So it is not as if.
No,
you see,
there's one key
what
key thing we forget here is that when God created us, He didn't just leave us like that. You remember earlier
Right.
I said He guided you.
I've got to go
So the importance of God guiding you throughout your journey.
Yeah.
Yes. So the question of this traumatic, anxieties and all the other problems that you talk about, it was taken away from the very beginning. Because God has instructed us. He didn't leave us unguided.
No, you see,
The bit that you leave out is the guidance of God. yeah.
no soul does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a burden that it cannot bear.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But in practice, this is our condition. We've agreed we have qualia, and also it's inevitable
But our qualia are
that we
positive
will
and
be
negative.
preoccupied with
you see,
our death, our mortality,
your
and these
whole
issues.
idea is presupposes.
Sorry.
Your whole concept presupposes a fallen world. We don't see the world as a fallen world in that way.
Say one word about fitra.
Yeah.
You were talking about guidance. The word fitra in Arabic.
Okay, how would you define fitra?
Fitra?
How would you define fitra?
I'll say fitra in Arabic means something that the creature is created within.
Say again.
Fitra in Arabic means something that the creature is created within.
So intrinsic.
Yeah. So when you say that.
What does it actually mean?
Sorry.
What does it actually mean?
I don't know the exact word, but in Arabic is
The root.
you can't.
What's the root?
Sorry.
No, not the term
not the
fitra. So what is it you're created with? That's the question.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So, if there is a human being that living in an island, he don't know about Islam, don't know about Christianity, doesn't know anything about anything. He will eventually have the sense that there is creator. This is the fitra.
I see. Okay.
The moral compass in any human is not within himself. He have fitra, but he needs guidance. So
Yeah, I go with that.
So you know that.
Yeah, that's-
why we're talking about the evolution psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a point on that. So
Thank you.
when someone says I have fitra that I should go to the other streets. He knows that he should go, but he doesn't know the road. He needs guidance.
Yes,
So,
yes, this is a very
this
good
is the
metaphor.
point.
This is good.
Yeah, it is. So,
So-
basically, it's intrinsic guidance.
Yes,
Yes.
In a
that's
way.
why Fitra is in every creature.
Yes, yes.
Humans, animals, but animals only have Fitra, doesn't have the guidance. So when you see a cat and his kittens, and the kittens, they are blind, they are born blind, but they know exactly where to go and
For food.
No.
Food.
Okay, now we disagree.
Yeah.
Can I jump in a minute?
Yeah,
I
go.
think when a cat tortures, this is the difference. When a cat tortures a mouse, it's not sinning because it doesn't understand what it's doing.
Yeah.
It thinks the mouse is just an object, yes?
Yeah.
However, if the cat ate the apple, it would realize it was causing suffering and therefore it would gain moral responsibility because it would realize the mouse was a subject like it. So I don't punish my cat because I don't expect, I'll stop him from torturing the mouse, but I don't think the cat has sinned. But if a human being starts torturing a mouse, they understand through empathy what they're doing and therefore they are sinning. That's all I'm saying.